Hello, good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday. It's like a radio DJ doing that. It's another day of streaming school. Obviously, I've started off in the best possible way 2 seconds in, but we've got Nish and we have Jackson with us to help save the day. How are you guys?
We're doing very well, mate. We're doing very well.
I'm hoping that the iridescence of your shirt is reflecting your mood this morning, Jackson.
Oh yes, indeed.
Yeah.
I'm bringing the good vibes.
That's it. That's what we want. That's exactly what we want. Exactly what we want. How's life, family, baby, all that sort of stuff for you?
Honestly, I'm having so much fun. She's waking me up early, which I need to. So I'm really loving every second of it. I mean, honestly, they say it will change your life. Definitely. I'm feeling that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And Nish, how you been doing the last couple of days?
Yeah, all good. Trying to enjoy the sun.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Yeah, that's it. It's getting that balance right is always a thing, isn't it? For me, I go a nice shade of pink if I spend too long outside. So, I'm not going down that line. But anyway, Jackson, that's enough about obviously my lack of time in UV rays. How are you? What is our focus to motivate us in the right way? My session's next. I might need some motivation, mate. So I need someone to set this up in a way that basically I can hopefully help to deliver. Are you that man?
I am that man. I'm going to teach you how to accept your greatness.
I love that. Love that. Well, yeah. I will leave it to you to start us off in exactly the way that we should. Thanks, Jackson.
Excellent. You're welcome. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Free Streaming School. My name is Action Jackson. And like I just said, I am here to definitely help you to accept your greatness. If you've never seen me before, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what time you're watching this. My name is Action Jackson, the UK ambassador for happiness. And I've been doing this now for 20 years. I love inspiring people to tap into their greatness because many people don't believe that they're great. They carry such greatness, but they don't believe it. So today I want to help you accept your greatness so that you can do great things on the earth. You know, you're meant to do great things on this planet. You're designed for greatness, but you don't believe it. So today I'm going to shake you to greatness and I'm going to thrust you to greatness. But before we do that, I like to do a bit of a little bit of warm up. Because you go to the gym, you got to warm up. This is how we warm up our mind. So I'm not a DJ, but I do have my DJ tune in there, And the very phrase that I use to embrace my greatness is, I am amazing. You're amazing. I'm amazing. We are all amazing. Okay? You have to own it. And it's simple. I am amazing. And then you keep that hand up like a champion. I am amazing. Yay! I am amazing. And then you just pump it like that. Yeah, I am amazing. No, that's amazing. That's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. I just want to kick off by telling you a bit of a story about greatness. What is greatness? Greatness is something that cannot be replicated. Okay? It cannot be replicated. When something is great, it's like, wow. So, I grew up listening to music, listen to someone like Michael Jackson, who definitely will never be replicated. I grew up watching Michael Jordan, who definitely cannot be replicated. Other people might try and replicate his success, but he can't be replicated. Now, here's the thing. You are amazing because you can't be replicated. No matter what, your DNA is unique to you. Your thumbprint is unique to you. But the problem is, because you compare yourself to other people, it makes you feel down. I'm going to share a quick story with you about a young man by the name of Sparky. Sparky in class was not the smartest. I don't know whether you've ever been there where you've compared yourself to other people. Whenever there was a test, he would be the last in class. Whenever there was sporting PE, he would be the last to get picked. There was a time when there was a game and he was responsible for kicking the winning goal and he missed. And the whole school just started bullying him. He didn't have any friends. He was socially awkward. You might have witnessed someone like that in your school. Maybe you felt like that. Now, going through his life, Sparky was the kind of person who always got rejected all the time. Now, whenever you get rejected, it's hard for you to focus on your greatness. The only thing Sparky was able to do was to draw. Whenever he was in science class, he would start drawing. Maths class, drawing. He got in trouble for drawing. When he was bored, he would draw. When he was excited, he would draw. And he used to get on everybody's nerves. Now, obviously, he didn't finish school that well, but one day he thought, you know what? The only thing I love doing is drawing. So at the end of secondary, he thought, let me do a lovely drawing for the end of yearbook. Well, guess what? You would think his drawing would be accepted for the end of yearbook at secondary school. Once again, he was rejected. He thought, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to keep on drawing. So one time there was an opportunity for him to submit his drawing to a company by the name of Disney. Yeah. He submitted his drawing to Disney, and they sent him a reply to say, young man, thank you very much for your drawing, but it's not meeting up to our standards. So one day he decided to write a book about all his rejections, but he didn't write it, he drew it. Now, after drawing, the book became a success. Sparky actually is a guy by the name of Charles Schulz. Charles Schulz was responsible for the cartoon called Peanuts. If you've ever seen Peanut was actually estimated to worth $1 billion. All because of Charles not giving up on his greatness. See, everybody else may not believe in you and what you're capable of doing. But if you believe in you and what you're capable of doing, and you do your best and forget the rest, you do your best and forget the rest, one day you're going to get an opportunity to shine before the world. Accepting your greatness means that know that some people won't like it, and that's okay. So long as you like it, and so long as you keep consistently doing it. Some people don't like me because I'm too happy. I remember someone said to me, you're so happy you make me sad. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do anything. If there's too much sun, guess what you need to do? Wear sunglasses. Don't reduce your light. Keep on shining no matter what you do. So as you go into the day, I want you to think about what's my greatness and how am I going to let it shine on the world. My name's Action Jackson, UK Ambassador for Happiness, saying thank you so much for watching. Do come and find me on social media, Action Jackson Live. Over to you, Michael and Nisha.
Thank you, Jackson. Mate, really, yeah, that's it, isn't it? Really good start today. You're always going to get rejections, aren't you? It's there's so many amazing stories of things like that. Obviously, like I think Bill Gates was another one, wasn't he? I think he was rejected. I think he said something like, rejected 1,000 times and all this sort of thing. And it just takes one. It just takes one. And
yeah, you're 1 yes away. You're 1 yes away.
That's it. Yeah, that is it indeed. And your plan today, sir, what might that include?
My plan, I've got to post a whole bunch of prizes that people have won. So I'm going to make a trip to the post office today. And I'm trying to turn my garage into a recording studio because my wife doesn't appreciate me recording in the kitchen.
Yeah, you don't need that. It's like in the background now you have the faint noise of a child screaming. That's what's that tinny sound in the... Oh, there she is. She's there.
Yeah, there you go.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And yeah, have a great day. It's always good to start with you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye. Thank you. So, Nish, I believe now, if memory serves, it's me. It's me today.
Yeah.
Because,
it is you.
Yeah, because as you guys may or may not be aware, streaming school now is slightly reduced in our timetable. So we are now just about an hour or so a day. Obviously, it means that you're still able to catch up with all of the lessons previously recorded and all the lessons, obviously, that we're making now via the streaming school portal. But just be aware now, obviously, that our sessions are an hour today. So we will have my English lesson, like that or love that. That's what you're getting. And then after a short break, we'll then continue with the theme of language by moving into, obviously, our Spanish lesson with Alex as well. I just want to pause just for a second, Nish, because obviously we talked about, I can't help myself, English teacher. We talked about, in my English lessons previously, the art of persuasion. And what Action used there when he had the example is, it's called straw man.
Okay.
So the idea of that is when actually, they actually use some people will actually use facts there. He used an anecdote, use a story, but actually, straw man is my favorite persuasive technique because you basically make someone up. You create someone to help make your point. So, for example, in my session today, what we're going to be focusing in on is one of the core language skills, which is the ability to use punctuation. Because actually, I would question our knowledge of punctuation types in able to use them expertly. That's what I would question. And in my straw man anecdote here, I might say that we had a little boy called Timmy. Timmy didn't take punctuation very seriously. Because he didn't take punctuation very seriously, he didn't get a great exam. Because he didn't get a great exam mark, that meant he couldn't get the job he wanted. He was then yada, yada, yada. So obviously it gets to the point where you say, that's why you need to listen today. Because if you don't listen today, it could impact the rest of your life. Don't be like Timmy, be a punctuation pro. That sort of thing. So that's basically how it works. That's how a straw man works. And politicians use it all the time. But who am I to suggest that politicians make stuff up, eh? All right, so
no comment.
Yeah, let me share my screen now. There we go. Right, so I'm now going to do this. So Nish, can you let me know when everyone can see my screen in full, please?
And there is a slight delay. So, yeah.
Perfect. Right. So, as we can see, it's all about using punctuation today. And actually, bear with me because this is going to be a little bit more complex than you first thought. So, for example, here, love this. I could have used the let's eat grandma or the comma punctuation saves lives. So, stop clubbing, baby seals. Thank you, Nish. Thank you. Check is in the post. So we can see our main aims today are going to be relating to this. Now, this is the spiral diagram that we know and love. And as we've said, I've actually seen people now walking around online on TikTok and things like that with this actually as a T-shirt. Did you know that, Nish? So we now have people wearing this as a T-shirt.
Interesting.
Yeah. That could be true. That could be false. Someone proved me wrong, basically. So we know that this is all to do with the areas of strength we need to demonstrate when we undertake any type of writing. Because if we do all of these things, then of course we achieve full marks. Now, as you remember, we need to make sure that we're using a variety of types of punctuation. We also need to make sure we're using them for impact. We also need to make sure we're using them to help to build meaning. So what am I suggesting there? So for example, if I'm writing a piece of narrative writing and I use the question mark repeatedly, where am I? What's going on? Who are you? Well, I'm using punctuation there to highlight that the character feels a sense of confusion and a sense of being lost. So we get the idea as a brief example. So our main areas today are to ensure that we know the rules for different punctuation types. So we're going to make sure we are aware of not all, but most today. And also we're going to make sure we understand how to use the different punctuation types, because that will be all important. So bear with me with this today. So before we begin that, it's important to understand the basic structures of sentences, because I don't know if any of you are aware of this, but I used to be a rapper. I've obviously toured with the likes of Kanye West, Wiz Khalifa, Post Malone. These are all friends of mine. They're all friends of mine. Not quite like in a Mike Scott Drake sort of way, but I know them. That's good enough. And commas, for example, are for clauses, not for pauses. Thank you. That's off my second album, Love to Punctuate by Michael Gard. That's a record store near you. Can't go though because they're closed. So there's three main types of sentences that we need to keep in mind here. We have simple, compound, and complex. So what is a simple sentence? Well, it's one main clause, one main idea. It's something that makes sense when said on its own. So it contains, we're going to be a little bit more detailed here, a subject, a verb, and an object. So I ran home. I is a subject. It's about me. The verb here is ran, and the object is home. So, for example, he ate pie. You get the idea here. Subject, verb, object is one main idea. Now, if we want to become a little bit more A-level with this, we actually have, people talk about those one-word sentences: alone, full stop; cold, full stop. Grammatically speaking, they are not a simple sentence. What they are is a minor sentence. It's pretending to be a simple sentence, but it doesn't contain a subject, verb, and object. So that's a nice technique to remember for our writing as well. The minor sentence, a nice, easy thing to do with our analysis. Now, the next one is if we think about a simple sentence like an element, well, a compound sentence then makes sense, because just like in chemistry, and hopefully Mike's watching this and he's nodding, and I've got a virtual high five from him right now and all our various different science teachers, but a compound sentence is where we join two elements together. That's a compound, and a compound sentence is two simple sentences joined together by a conjunction, or a subordinating conjunction we'll look at in a second, actually. But I ran home and Sarah said hello. I ran home and I ate pie. Two simple sentences joined together by a conjunction, a linking word, but we use conjunctions because we want to achieve full marks in our exams. Then finally, the most complex, do you see what I've done there? The most complex type of these sentences is the complex sentence. So it's a sentence containing one or more dependent clause or a subordinate clause. Both the word dependent and subordinate means that you rely on someone else. Now, a dependent clause or a subordinate clause relies on the main clause for it to make sense. So, for example, here, although it was raining, I didn't wear a coat. Now, let's pretend we're at a bus stop. Remember those days? And I say to you, I didn't wear a coat. You'd think I was strange and probably move a little bit further away, but I didn't wear a coat makes sense on its own. You say, I'm really happy for you, that's nice, and then you'd move away. However, if I said to you, although it was raining, it doesn't make sense on its own. You need more information. We depend on the main clause for it to make sense. So we can see here, although it was raining, is therefore the dependent or subordinate clause because it doesn't make sense. But what's also nice to think about here is you can move the clauses around. So here, I didn't wear a coat, although it was raining. Notice that if we begin with a dependent clause, we need the comma, because the comma signifies the change of clause. But if we begin with the main clause and we end with a dependent clause, we don't need the comma. So it's important that we understand sentence types before we move into looking at punctuation, because obviously punctuation helps to highlight where clauses begin, where we separate clauses, and where they end as well. There's also, if you're interested, well, I'll get to that in a minute, actually. The big unveil will become later. So here are some of the subordinating conjunctions that you could use. So these will signify a dependent clause. So because it was raining, before it was raining, even though it was raining, as soon as it began to rain, after it rained, you can hear these are all subordinating conjunctions which highlight that it's a subordinate clause, a dependent clause. So I know if I begin with one of these words in a sentence, I have to use a comma at the end of that clause. So there's a little tip there for you using complex sentences with a comma. But let me talk to you about some of the different types of punctuation here, because that's what we promised to do as well today. Now, obviously, you'd think full stops would be the simplest thing to use, and you are hopefully very right. So we obviously use it to end a sentence. Today is a great day. Jackson's highlighted that to us, full stop. We also use them for abbreviations. So we use them to indicate where a word has been abbreviated. So, for example, the USA, United States of America. But remember, if the abbreviation appears at the end of a sentence, you do not need two full stops. So I don't need the USA, U.S, full stop, A, full stop, not needed. So there you go, slightly more complex than you first thought. What about brackets or parentheses? So as a general rule, brackets cannot be used as a sentence on their own, as we know that, because generally speaking, they're additional information. The full stop should be used at the end of a sentence. So here, for example, Today's a great day in the USA, brackets, because everybody loves Monday, although it's a Tuesday. I get that. Full stop. Finally, with speech marks, all punctuation with speech marks goes inside, including the full stop. Today is a great day. So there you go. So we've touched upon different types of punctuation already there. And immediately we identify that actually there's a bit more to using some punctuation than we initially first thought. What about speech marks then? Because actually, time and time again, I see students make mistakes with speech marks, and it will really hinder the mark you achieve, but also more importantly, the way in which people perceive your writing ability. So as we know, all speech takes place inside speech marks. That's what it's for. When introducing speech, we always use the comma. Mr. Guard then replied, comma, that's a great idea. The punctuation with speech must always be placed inside the speech marks, as we've said. Hello again. You notice that we've got the full stops in there. But look, we've got a lowercase here in a moment. We'll talk about that one in a second. Once speech is complete, the next word, unless it's a proper noun, should be in lowercase lettering. That's a great idea, muttered Mr. Guard. But if I started with Mr. Guard muttered, then obviously it would be a capital. Always use a new line in the new speaker. Thank you for your response, Mr. Guard said to the class. That's okay, the class replied. That's the sound the class makes. And there we are on a new line. And then finally, when you're interrupting speech, the next part in speech marks need to begin in lowercase lettering, of course, unless it's a proper noun, and include the comma before introducing the second part. So that's a great idea, comma, Mr. Guard muttered, because obviously we're now interrupting. We've got a clause here. Let's explore that later. So again, feel free to pause this, take screenshots of this, watch it back later on Streaming School, because obviously this will help you when it comes to revising for your exams. How do I revise for language exams? Well, if you know you find different parts of punctuation difficult, like this, well, obviously then make sure you revise it. What about brackets? Well, as we know, they use to separate additional information in a sentence which isn't essential. So if you remove the brackets, the sentence should still make sense. And that's important to remember. So Mount Everest in the Himalayas is a difficult mountain to scale. So if I take away the bracket, Mount Everest is a difficult mountain to scale. You can see the additional information. If I take it away, the sentence still makes sense. Unlike speech marks, the first word within brackets does not need to be capitalized, and punctuation to end the sentence should always be placed outside of brackets. So there is a difference between our use of brackets and a difference between our use of speech marks. Learn that difference, know that difference, utilize that difference in your own work as well. Well, what about the apostrophe? Because there is a little bit more to the apostrophe than some of you may think. So we use it in a number of different ways. First of all, contractions, the shortening of someone. So the apostrophe is used to indicate when a letter has been taken out of the writing. So does not becomes doesn't. There is becomes theirs. So you can see here the apostrophe highlights that the I is, the O is missing here and the I is missing there. We also use the apostrophe to highlight a possession. So you use it to show someone who owns something. So if something is owned by a single entity, a person, an animal, or organization, the apostrophe is placed on the left-hand side of the S. So that's John's ball. However, if a noun which needs an apostrophe ends with an S, you've got a choice. So you can either add an additional S for the apostrophe or simply just use the apostrophe. So for example, Jesus's hand. So I didn't use the additional S, or Jesus's hand. Both are correct, believe it or not. But whatever you decide to use, you need to make sure that you continue that throughout your writing because it will be picked up. Finally, if something is owned by more than one entity, the apostrophe is placed on the other side, the right-hand side. So that's John's ball. So notice the apostrophe is now on the right-hand side, suggesting there is a group of Johns who that ball belongs to. So again, it's important you put that piece of punctuation, lots of P's, that piece of punctuation in the correct location to indicate the ownership of something. Well, what about the hyphen? So first of all, the hyphen is not a dash. Dashes are longer. I know. I didn't understand that until I started to explore it myself as well. The main purpose of a hyphen is to connect two words when they form a single idea. So off campus, state of the art. So when they become a single idea, that's when we use a hyphen. We also use it to show a range in time. So for example, I'm available from 4 till 4:15, or we use it for distance as well. So we've got 1999 to 2018, or 3 to 340 people. Also, hyphens are used to tell the ages of people and things. So we have a 2-year-old child. There is an exception. So, for example, we have a 1-year-old child, or day, week, or month. And that is because the age is singular and not plural, meaning many. So days of the week. And actually, sometimes hyphens can be used to clarify meaning when something's confusing. So Farnham had little town charm, as you can see at the bottom. But with a hyphen, Farnham has little town charm. Now it makes complete sense because the first example suggests there is little charm within that town. It's not a great place to be. But with the hyphen, it suggests it has that little town charm, that delightful small village feel to it. So notice here how the hyphen is making sure that I can now walk down Farnham High Street without being attacked by people who love that location. But what about the dash then? So dashes can be used in different ways. They can be used in the same way as brackets can, but actually they're used to show a more severe interruption. So remember, we said brackets are used for additional information. And when you look at brackets, you can sometimes feel to yourself, well, I could have used commas there. I could have used that instead. But actually, here they're used to show a severe interruption. He was late. I couldn't believe it. So we decided to skip the meal. Damn him for being late, hey? Also, when writing dialogue, we use it to show a break in dialogue. And I was actually showing my daughter this last night. She was reading Isadora Moon. She's only 6. And the break here showed that the character is being interrupted. Or we use a dash to separate parts of the sentence to emphasize them. There's only one place left to visit now. Mars. You can hear how the dash helps us to highlight exactly what we're referring to there. Finally, I'm going to very quickly go through the comma, but actually, we talked about it already with sentences, but I genuinely feel that for most people, the comma is the most complex form of punctuation for them to utilize correctly. So remember, I'm a freestyle rapper. Commas are for clauses, not for pauses. God, the amount of times I've heard people say use commas when you need to take a breath. No. We use them to separate clauses. They are not for pauses. Remember, they separate a dependent subordinate clause from the main clause. Although it's late, I didn't mind waiting. Here's another example. Again, why is there no comma? I'll wait for you to answer. It's because the main clause at the start. And it's also used to separate items in a list as well. I'm going to get bread, milk, and cheese. Note that you always use and to indicate the last item in the list as well. So let me go back to my face. Here we are. So what do we want to do today? We wanted to make sure that we had a better understanding of punctuation types and how to use them. I've also highlighted to you, hopefully, that actually what we consider to be quite simplistic forms of punctuation is far more challenging than we thought. So I would not be surprised if people today have gone away from this session thinking, I didn't know there was a difference between a hyphen and a dash. Well, now you do. Now you do. So in terms of your task, I've got a couple of tasks actually. So you are more than welcome now to practice using a variety of different types of punctuation in your work based on some of the information that we've gathered today. However, I have also, as I said to you, I've highlighted that I'm a freestyle rapper by trade, and it just happened to be an English teacher. A wordsmith is the correct terminology for anyone that writes songs. You can search on my English teacher channel. There is a video niche, believe it or not, called Punctuation Rap, which is horrendous. What I would like is for me to take the baton of wording to you and to see if you can then turn that punctuation rap into something far more palatable for human consumption. So that's what I'd like you to do. Of course, you can catch on this session and any other session we've undertaken through English Streaming School via our various social media platforms. We are now going to take a couple minutes break, and then you will be blessed with the appearance of Alex as we explore our Spanish speaking skills. So thank you, Nish, for your support, and thank you, everybody else, and we'll see you in a moment.
See you in a bit.